Hello, and welcome to Brand Clarity by Visions to Images, where we focus on strategy and business development for entrepreneurs at all different levels through branding and digital marketing techniques. Susie Liberatore is the founder and art director of Visions to Images Creative Services, LLC. For the last decade, she has personally been instrumental in bridging gaps between the global digital market and neighborhood locations for some of the biggest brands around. Growth is possible for even a single location with the right professional branding techniques and Susie's signature strategies of Visions to Images. Stand out from your competitors and bring your visions to life while watching your sales skyrocket. Your host for this is Susie Liberatore, owner of Visions to Images.
Hello, everybody. Today on the podcast, I have Lannie Davis-Frecker, and she's the president and CEO of Julie Billiart. There's 3 locations actually in Northeast Ohio, and I'm super excited to have her on. Antonio's been going to this school he's in first grade now, and he went there for kindergarten, so like a year almost and a half. So it's exciting. I love everything about it. I love their mission, their brand, and I'm excited to have her on. Welcome.
Thank you, Susie.
Absolutely. So tell us how you got into this field.
Well, I got into the field of special education as a young child, actually. I was at Hudson City Schools, and we were bringing in all of the students into an inclusion model. And I would spend my lunchtimes working with the students in our second grade inclusion class. And I would eat lunch with them and I would work with them. And it just felt really like a calling and something that was on my heart since I was very young. My parents asked me why or how I did this or learned to love these kids. And I said, I get to be their hands when their hands don't work. And I get to help them write when they can't write very well. And so as a very young child, I think I just felt called to this type of work. And then I was a teacher at JB and at our Lyndhurst location, and was really excited to really continue on in whatever capacity was asked of me. When our president retired, the board of directors really felt that I was in a position to help grow the organization. And so I moved from the classroom to the assistant principal role, to our director of special ed, and then to our vice president, and eventually our president, where I was able to help launch the network of schools and our newest Akron and Westlake campuses.
That's an incredible story. Yeah. And I think so many times people don't understand the special needs world. I know I didn't understand it completely until I had Antonio and he with his autism and stuff. And it's tough as a parent, as I've told you before, how do we get our kids what they need, et cetera, all of that. And when I had to pick where to go for kindergarten, it was so tough because you're just so overwhelmed with so much. But you guys have done a great job with all of the steps and all of the process, but then not only executing when he was in kindergarten. I mean, now he's gone from nonverbal to really trying to really get those verbal things going. So it's incredible to see that journey. And I'm excited because more and more people need this as autism is on the rise, and it just keeps being popular. And it's exciting that you have 3 different locations now.
Thank you. Yes, it is. We definitely have done a market analysis to understand each market and each school district that we serve. And we've tried to answer the call because we have a substantial waiting list with parents calling daily to see how they can get our services at Julie Billiart Schools. So we're excited to keep expanding.
Yeah, I love it. And I just love everything with the school. I mean, he actually likes going to school and he loves it. So that's always a good thing. Well, first, let's talk a little bit about JB. Give us a little bit more information. I know you have some stuff we're going to put in the show notes, but kind of give us a little bit of information about who it is for.
Really, the Julie Billiart Schools has always been, for about 70 years now, has always been dedicated to serving the students that learn differently and need kind of an alternative placement to their current school placement. We're K-8 schools that work predominantly with students with special learning needs. About 70% of the students that we serve across the network are on the autism spectrum. Mm-hmm. And so they require and need really that whole child approach to education, really focusing on that social curriculum and the social thinking curriculum. Other 30% of our population struggle with maybe dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADHD, other disabilities, if you'd like to call them that. Sometimes we call them learning differences. We know that there's a lot of comorbidity between each area. So sometimes you have generalized anxiety disorder as well as autism. So it really is that whole child approach to education. And what really separates JB is the services that we offer in the classroom. So we have on staff, we have speech language pathologists, we have occupational therapy to work on gross motor, fine motor. We have a board certified behavior analyst at every campus. We do have an RBT, a registered behavior therapist. We also have an art therapist and a music therapist at every campus. And that really is, again, to make sure that every area that our children need support, but also have strengths in, that we can support them. And so all of our teachers are intervention specialists. That means that our children are really receiving about 7 hours of intervention a day, and that our intervention specialists are not just pulling them out, giving them 30 minutes of what they need and pushing them back into the classroom. They are all day long keeping the students with their peers and teaching them where they are and hoping to see growth over a certain amount of time.
That's exciting and amazing. It's truly amazing. Like I don't know how people can do it. I mean, I'm a mom and I can do all the stuff, mom stuff. But when it comes to teaching a child like that, it requires a lot of patience and knowledge and experience for sure. Because I know even during COVID, when we did some ABA stuff at home virtually, I was over it. Antonio was over it, right? So there's all of these pieces of so important. And in even having the speech and the occupational therapist and all these different things, it's so important for kids to have this. And I know going to public schools, you can get some of these things. It's different when you're special needs in a way, how they work with you. You know what I mean? So it's amazing that you have all of these different skills and that they can thrive in this area.
And I think it also means you hit the nail on the head, Susie. Like our teachers are fantastic.
Yes.
They're the best of the best. They really are patient. They choose to respond to love with our kids, even when there are meltdowns or tough times or a child is overwhelmed or struggling. And, coming around the table, you're all intervention specialists. So you're all thinking different and you're all focused on that child's need. You know that what one child needs is different than what another child needs. And that's very acceptable.
Right.
And so that is kind of the whole philosophy of JB, that if the child is not learning the way we teach, we change the way we teach to meet the child where they are. And that is not the philosophy of every school.
Right.
And that's why, we believe in all different kinds of education models for what their needs of that student are. Yeah. So we're really excited about what we do at JB, but certainly it's not for every child because every child is so different. But we have seen great results for the kids that we serve.
And with Antonio and autistic kids, it's so interesting to see how different and unique each person is. And I mean, I've never experienced anything like it. Like I'll watch Antonio do something and it's so funny to see how it can be. And I love seeing the differences and seeing how these kids interact differently, but yet they're just having so much fun and love it. You know what I mean? So I love it.
Right. And every time we always say, we're like, when one child on the spectrum, one child on the spectrum, there's not one that is the same.
Right.
And though, you can glean some characteristics, they all do really need a different approach. And what we just find is that when you get to know the child and when you love the child, it really is just autism is part of who they are, but it does not at all define them. And they have many gifts and many things to contribute to our world. And that really becomes the platform for how we build our classrooms is on their strengths.
Hey there, I want to interrupt this episode with a quick message. If you're listening to this podcast episode and want to learn about branding your franchise or small business, then go to brandingbridge.com. That's branding-bridge.com.
So tell me what you're kind of most excited excited about currently? I know there's a lot of great things happening at JB.
Well, I'm really excited that we're going to expand our Beyond Camp program to
Ooh,
all
that
of
is
our schools.
Yay!
I know, and you're going to see this. It's going to come out later this week, but our leadership team really is coming together to bring Beyond Camp, which is our award-winning camp experience for it's all of July, where our students have the chance to learn a different skill, focus on a different social skill, and then really go out into the community and work on using that in more of a generalized setting, and really focusing on some areas of social, academic, and pragmatic needs, but doing it in a really fun and kind of summer camp way in a less structured, but still high structure, where we can take a lot of good data to see how our children are doing when it's not your typical school setting. So I'm really excited that we're able to bring our Beyond Camp to our Akron campus as well as our Westlake campus this summer.
Yes.
So we are doing that. So I'm very excited about that. I'm also excited that we are right now trying to secure our fourth school for JB4. We are hoping that we're kind of in the process, hoping that it will be in Brecksville. So we're working on securing that, and that should be coming out soon. And school 4 would open in the fall of 2024. So we spend quite a bit of time renovating the building, recruiting the students, recruiting the staff, and making sure our other 3 schools stay strong before we launch a new school. And then I'm also really excited about our speaker series that we just started, which is a collaboration with Dr. Jay Burke, which is a school psychologist, and Mary Jo O'Neill from Hickman and Louder, who is a parent advocate, and Julie Billiart Schools. And we came together to listen to our parents and hear what areas they would need more support and resources in, and to try and supplement it and really build our bench from a greater clinical support side and build our bench from a mental health side, which we're seeing with a number of students globally, but also students at JB. Right. And so we are trying to do that, and then also support our parents through the IEP, ETR evaluation process that we know is hard for any parent going through it.
Definitely. I think, and the thing about IEPs is we think it's going to be easier each year, but it's really not, right? And it's always kind of like nerve-wracking in a sense of, okay, where's my child? How do we get in there, et cetera? And last year we did our first IEP with JB actually, and it was so much more relaxing. And Gabrielle helped us, et cetera. And she was kind of the liaison and was kind of really knowing a lot of the information and took the lead on it. So it was super helpful and amazing that was available to us.
Yeah. Gabrielle, who's our assistant principal at Akron and our director of special ed, we have Katie in Lyndhurst, and then we have Patrick in Westlake. Yeah. Their whole purpose is really to support the parents and the school district in that IEP process. But it is hard because it's a naturally deficit process. You're pointing out all the deficits of a student. Oh, 100%. And you're putting it on paper. I mean, that's how do you define a child on paper? So we recognize that. We try to bring more what they can do, what they need in order to be successful, because the goal is to have them be successful in whatever setting they're in. Yeah. And so it is a hard process, but I think that the parents love that someone sitting around that table really knows their child and can advocate for what they need. And again, I think every school and the public schools, they do a great job and they do their best. But if they are not the ones serving the child, it's a tough thing to write an IEP for a kid that you don't have in your school. So we really try to support that process and collaborate with the public schools.
I was definitely impressed with how it was handled last year, because it was the first time, like I said, and I was like, this is good, right? And I felt I didn't have to worry about all of those little pieces and stuff. And like you said, they talked about the positive, Gabrielle, a lot more than the negatives. And there are going to be negatives, but a lot of times when you go to these IEP meetings, like you said, you feel, oh, my kid is just not where it should be. And it's just like heartbreaking. And then it brings the parent down, right? We want to have more of that. Well, look at what he can do and what he has accomplished over the years. And I love that you guys are expanding. That's super excited. And like I've told you before, you guys, JB is just an amazing school. I love everything. And Antonio's doing so amazing. And I'm pumped because of Beyond Camp being in Akron this year, because I don't have to drive all the way out to Lyndhurst. So
Yeah.
that's exciting.
Yes.
So yeah, if you had any advice to give to somebody, whether it's like a parent or somebody when they're trying to find the right school for their child, what advice would you give them?
I think that what we need to remember is that every parent knows their child best. Your mama or papa gut instincts to what your child needs is often very accurate. And so I think sometimes it's intimidating to stand up for your child to educators who have been trained in this, but really make sure that when you're picking a school that they value your voice, that they value your place in this collaborative process, and that they recognize that you know your child best and really should be partnering with you and understanding what your goals are so that those can really come to life in their classroom. I would encourage parents who maybe haven't found the right school for their child to come to JB for an open house, to call, look at our website. Again, it's not for everyone, but the goal is not to have all of our kids for all 9 years at JB. Our goal is to give them a platform and a runway to the next school so that they can go and be successful in a less restrictive environment. And so, if the goal is that you want them to kind of matriculate on to middle school in your public school or in a different Catholic school, we will work with you. We will rally around your child and try to really set some realistic goals and help them be their own advocate. So I would encourage parents to look at JB. If it's not JB, we do partner with a lot of schools where we have really good relationships and we know what they offer, and maybe we could recommend a different placement. Yeah. I think what you'll find at JB is just a lot of educators who care deeply about what is best for children, and that becomes our compass for the decisions that we make.
Yeah, you guys definitely care more. Yeah, I can't even go off of that. You guys care more than I could ever imagine. So yes, I love it. And definitely check out their open house. I enjoyed it. It was and there's a lot of questions that people are going to have, and you guys have always been welcoming about that as well. So, don't be afraid to ask questions if you're trying to figure out which school is right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you all for all that you do for the special needs in the community and the parents, etc. You guys do a great job.
Thank you so much. This was really nice to talk with you and to be able to continue to tell the story of our kids. Absolutely. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for listening in on today's Brand Clarity episode with Susie Liberatore. 2 things. First and foremost, please, if you liked this episode, please subscribe and leave some positive reviews. Also, don't forget to sign up for Stop Sending Your Customers to the Competition and get my insider secrets to compelling branding that converts. You can find that at branding-bridge.com. It's a free workbook for you to check out right now. All of the branding techniques and strategies that I use for my paying clients.